creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Another cup of cheer. Every thought becomes so clear. From stations and bubbling streams, waking up to brand new dreams. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversation.
Hey, good morning. It is Saturday. Guys, we're halfway through June. It's June 13th. Shout out to my baby sister who celebrated a birthday this week. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling a little bit old. And I mean that with all due respect to my elders. Anybody who's sitting there with a few more years on me, please know that I respect the work you've done. I just feel like I've done some of that work too. And it made me think about the future, the things that are coming, the things that we need to be prepared for. And I started really, contemplating life, thinking about our current situation economically and just kind of the status of the world. And the reality is, I think there are more question marks for more people than there are answers. And I wanted to talk about it. So I hope you're ready to do this today. Good morning to those who are out there. I saw Lisa said good morning first comment of the day. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Sean, I see you. Good morning from New York City. Retirement versus inspirement. It is definitely a Melissa Houston title. I was contemplating, how do I address this? How do I really want to come in. I have so many ways I like to play. I'm a mindset coach. I'm a business consultant. I've done life coaching because business and mindset, and it gets tied into the personal, and it just kind of overlaps naturally, right? Um, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Ann Houston. I'm the cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And really what that means is I help people figure out what they want to be when they grow up and then get a plan together to do it. I cultivate the best parts of you with you. That's also what I've done in businesses. I had been in sales since I was 13. First job was door-to-door newspaper sales, interrupting people in the middle of their lives, sometimes dinner, just to say, please buy this newspaper and send me to college. The truth is I was great at sales, but never really got to finish the college experience. I started, but ended up having to drop out to work full time to take care of my child. That said, I have had to learn on the go. Everything that I have cultivated in my own life, I have learned by sitting in the room where it happens, taking really good notes, and then making sure I get the job done that they were asking for. I ask good questions like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Very simple, but they take me back to my childhood, and it definitely helps empower you when you're unsure of what to do next. They are the most powerful yet simple questions you can have in your pocket at any time. Good morning, David Pushkin. I see. So I was thinking about all of these things, right? Who am I to give advice on retirement? Am I prepared for retirement myself? And the truth is I am, but not in the way most would plan. And so that got me to the Inspirement conversation, right? I watched my grandmothers pretty much work every day of their life until it was time to go. Until they passed away, they were very active individuals. Now, my great-grandmother did get to rest a little more, but she cohabitated with her daughter to help offset some of that financial strain. So it's not like this is a new story for many. I know it's happening today in the world where lots of generations are living under the same roof again. And so I wanted to tackle it from a real, honest standpoint based on my experiences, my filters in life. I can't speak for you. I don't know how your 401k is looking. I don't want to help you plan for it. I'm going to be honest. I don't care. I care, but I don't care enough. So I want you to get a financial planner if you feel you need one. That's not this show. What I want you to consider is your time, not the financial, but it's definitely a facet of the conversation. It's not the focus. I want you to consider your time, your energy. What does retirement look like? Why are we wanting to retire in the first place? So while we're thinking about this, I really want you to think of these little bubbles I have here, right? I use this to explain what I do as a life coach. It's career, it's confidence, it's mindset, it's leadership, it's alignment, it's relationships. I want you to kind of write a little something on the piece of paper in front of you that does the same. Put retirement on the umbrella. The droplets, outside of that umbrella could be your own retirement droplets. What does that look like? Is it family? Is it crafting? Are you volunteering? Are you working? Do you vacation with little umbrellas in your drinks and you don't care about the rest because you have that figured out? I want you to really get honest with yourself, right? So you can start with just a little umbrella on the piece of paper, maybe a few circles. Do it mentally. You don't actually have to write it down right now, but really think about it. If you were to plan just a few bullet points of your retirement, what would it be? Okay. If you haven't yet, please go follow me on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Substack, Facebook, TikTok. I'm everywhere. Streaming mostly on LinkedIn. That's where it started. And so I hope we're connected there. If not, come find me, Melissa Ann Houston. Guys, it's going to be a good conversation. Let me know where you are. Hey, good morning, Felipe. I don't plan to just retire, guys. I don't think it's physically possible for Melissa to sit still and just be still and stay still for the rest of her life. If you're the same, go ahead and just say, no way, right? Like, no way you could sit still. So the truth is, when I hear retirement, when I've heard people talk about retirement, I've never really thought, let me tuck myself into the bed, sit there and not move. That's never been my thing. What I coach on quite often, and a perspective and scope that I use with coaching clients, is to ask them, if you had to work with no pay for the rest of your life, what job would you want to do? And I think it's the best way to kind of plan for your inspirement, guys. Let's pretend you are financially set for just a moment, right? You don't have to worry about the financial aspect. How would you spend your days? What gets you excited to look forward to? What is that thing you're like, oh man, as soon as I'm retired, I'm going to have a full time. For Melissa, it's garden. I want a garden that would help fuel the food banks local to me. I want to make so much fruit and vegetable product come out of the ground that I have to give it away because there's no way we'll go through it. I want to have that personal time playing in the dirt outside, just like when I was a child. And I want it to have a ripple. It's a simple concept, right? If I had to boil down the entire message from my perspective of what I plan to do in my Inspirement, is to grow things that will feed others and have a ripple. What is yours? Because the truth is if that's the job title, if that's the plan, if that's the entirety of what I need to do, there's so many ways I can play. What if I can't get to the garden? Okay, well, let's make it a metaphorical garden. What else can I sow into? What else can I plant knowledge into? What else can I help reap or harvest out of others or places or spaces? So I want you to think about this, because this is where I'm coming from. This is the perspective we're entering today, right? Don't just plan to retire, plan to inspire. And if you're going to inspire, and if you're going to plan to be able to do this for the rest of your life, no matter what your financial status, no matter what your physical status, no matter what your even mental status, guys, this is going to be a facet of it. How are you going to stay engaged when you're not engaging? Right? How is that a plan? How is it going to help you mentally if you don't have something to look forward to every day? So let's get into it. Good morning to Coach Carrie, too. I see you out there. Before I get too far into this, I just want to say, guys, I appreciate you being here. Saturday morning, 6 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. It's early. If you're on the East Coast, it's 9 a.m. The world's moving around. It's starting to get busy. You could easily put your phone away, and instead you're here. So good job. I'm proud of you for that, but I'm also grateful. I think it takes a lot to show up for yourself and to do it without being asked by an employer or a requirement for education or whatever it might be, right? So good on you for still showing up. And that's really the whole premise of what this Inspirement should be. David says, interesting you mentioned that, Melissa. I know some people who have retired who are more busy than when they were working with things like volunteering, music, etc. And the interesting thing is they are actually so happy and content. Yes. And that's exactly right. Guys, we start as babies, right? We all know this. Unless you had another path, please drop it in if you were hatched, let me know. But truthfully, I know that we start this journey of just being curious. Everything is new and fresh and exciting. And we get to touch and play and feel, sometimes at our own risk, sometimes learning hard lessons. Things will snap, bite, poke, pinch, right? As toddlers, these are things we learn. And when I think about being a toddler, it's kind of a scary situation in a lot of ways for that kiddo. It's a great big world. Everything is so new and fresh, but everything is so new and fresh. You could walk up to a bear thinking it's squishy and wants a hug, and it's not so wise, right? And I thought about it. What is it that slows us down from that curiosity, that stops us from inspiring? We've talked about how we get separated from the inspiration. We get told to sit still, put our crayons away. It's time to listen, face forward, hands in front of us. It's quiet time, it's focus time, it's reading time, it's all of these times, and we have it scheduled for us. And I think eventually, as a grown-up, I got sick of that. I got so sick of it, I went to work for myself for a while, right? Fully self-employed, 8+ years, self-sustaining, taking care of my family, proudly being the breadwinner. And I was still just fed up with my time being utilized in certain ways. I'm not going to lie to you. Even with clients, they get to ask for your time in a way that it gets wearing for some, right? As a coach, I'm going to just speak for more majority than just myself. It gets to be the reason we want to retire. If you think about the reason you'd love to retire, what is it? Write it down. For me, it was to have autonomy, to have decision making, to have the ability to choose to do or not at my leisure. To want to live a fulfilled life, though, I know what choices I would make, right? I'm going to make choices that have a ripple. I'm going to make choices of showing up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday to talk to you for free about something that is inspirational. It hit me in the shower. It tickled my brain while I was massaging that soap into the area, right? And I was just like, wow, let's do this. But what is it you're waiting for? What does retirement mean? What are you adding to your life at that time? And why does it sit inside? What is that burning sensation, right? Because your next chapter is still going to need that fire. That thing that's burning inside of you now, that thing you're aching for now, the thing you want to plot and plan for now, maybe that's a hint to the future. Maybe it's something we can talk about with the Inspirement. When we get to retirement, I don't want you burn out. I don't want to be burnt out. I don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, thank God that's over. Agree? I do think the feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm sick of Bob having control of my schedule. Oh my gosh, I'm sick of Sally coming to my desk every, 4 hours to have a 10-minute conversation that derails my day. I'm sick of insert here. I don't know. Right? You can retire all of that sensation, but I don't want you to retire your brilliance. That thing that makes you you, that thing that inspires you to keep moving, the thing that, if you're a believer, God put on your heart to get done. Maybe the universe is calling to you and it's telling you you need to act. There's something drawing you out, something you can't ignore, that feeling, that small little voice. If you can harness that energy and listen to that voice, there is brilliance to be found. And retirement doesn't mean put away, right? And I see that happen so much when I see retirement homes. If I could do anything for the retirement community, and please tag them if you know them, I would tell them to run it more like a daycare. I want to go on field trips. I want to go roller skating. Take my wheelchair to the roller skating rink if I have to. Is there not an option to go to the water park? Is there not an option to go sip and paint? Give me juice and let me have my lunch at the paint and sip. I don't care what I'm sipping. Can I go thrifting for fun? People wear clothes even when they retire, and so just going on trips to the store. These little things that in these communities disappear. And I started thinking about this at 16. I was taking care of the elderly then, full time. And it's such a vast, stark reality to sit there in your youth and see somebody in the opposite stage. They may have 16 years left, max. I have only lived 16 years. And I'm looking around at those who very much remind me of Sesame Street, guys. There's the Oscar the Grouch, the angry man who never was satisfied with life, and he continued that journey in retirement. There's those who are just sad and stay in the room and never really want to engage with the world, but you definitely see it on their face. And if you're empathetic at all, if you've had children, if you've been in a situation where you had to go nonverbal and you can read those micro expressions or see behind the fake smile, oh man, does it get heavy. And I think that's why I was always so excited to be sparkly and bubbly and be the fool in the room if I had to bring a smile, is because so many lose that. And it's important to, try to find it again, but it's much easier to prevent the loss, right? Prevention is worth a pound of cure. An ounce of prevention. Sorry, halfway there, halfway awake. If you think about these concepts, guys, what is it that you can prevent for you? If you've watched your loved ones retire, the people you've seen in your life go through this, what is it that you don't want to replicate? I talk about this often in a career, but why not in retirement? What is that thing you don't want to do? Do you know? What is that? He who stands for nothing falls for everything. I think it can be true about our retirement plans too. If you have no goal, if you have nothing that speaks to you and says, hey, this is really how I want to continue to live once I've stopped working, where are you really going to end up? And do you know? And there's maybe some great curiosity and fun and wonderment in not knowing yet. And I don't want to take away from that. Maybe part of the journey is to journey. Plan for that, right? But have a map. Now, you can wander and you can travel. And again, all these quotes are popping into my brain today. Not all those who wander are lost. Maybe being lost is part of the experience. But are you lost in the burnout or the brilliance? How much time are you spending in each circle? And I want you to plan beyond the paycheck. Now, be honest with yourself. The goal for retirement needs to align with your financial capabilities. If you tell me you want to retire at the top of the Eiffel Tower and have a bed and breakfast up there, and that's your goal, it's going to be an expensive venture to even get the idea off the ground, let alone to be allowed to do it and then maintain it. But if you say you want to do the same thing from a small space in your home where you rent the room overnight as an Airbnb location, that's more possible, right? More plausible. And you can align that with your finances. When I think about what I want to do, I'm going to need internet connection. I'm going to need some streaming tools likely. I'm using them now, so I'm assuming they're not going away. I'm probably going to need an assistant at some point because as technology advances and I am on my decline, I won't want to deal with it. It won't be something I'll enjoy as much as I do now. And I know that because every time these stinking apps update, it takes me a bit to get back to my quick functions, right? As I age, I just can see myself caring less about keeping up with the app's updates and just telling people what I want. All of that aside, what if none of this, none of coffee chats, none of LinkedIn, none of this is possible? What if all of that, for whatever reason, disappears? My plan? Well, I'm going to sow seeds. It could be in the employee working at the nursing home. It could be telling them they don't have to be there forever and how I was 16 and a caregiver once. And how now I have friends on LinkedIn who have helped me write books. And we went internationally bestselling. And we have ripples fast and wide in so many segments, not just because of the books, but because of the conversations, because of the relationships, because of the people who keep showing up to give back. I could see myself being the elderly person who goes to the hospital to volunteer. Just because I'm down doesn't mean I'm out, but if they're on their way out, do they have to do it alone? I'm inspired to make sure people feel like they're seen, heard, that their ripple is going to remain. You guys with me? What is it for you? What is that thing that draws you in every time? If I said you could only be remembered for one thing, what is that thing you're going to do no matter where you're working from, no matter what your physical capability is? I can always get on a phone call. As long as my ears are working, I can be in a headset with an auto dialer. I was a telemarketer. They used to have me just sit there and it would beep. And as soon as I heard the beep, I would start my pitch. It worked. I didn't have to dial anything. I actually got to color the whole time I was there. Thinking about it now, you guys used to call me out when I was coloring during the coffee chat audios. You could hear the scratch of paper. I've always wondered, could they hear it too? When I was selling them their magazines, could they hear me scribbling in the background? It worked. If I'm in my retirement home, if I'm in my retirement stage, as long as I have a way to connect to some human, I'm willing to show up for them. Put me on an auto dialer, I will work a suicide hotline. If humans need that, if I can help, that will be my ripple. I won't need to be paid for these things. These are things I want to do naturally. These are things I'm showing up for now. These are things that inspire me and I feel are my purpose, my passion. A lot of people think of retirement, again, as just putting yourself away, stepping away and not coming back. And you don't stop living, guys. As a matter of fact, I would say it's the opposite. This is the exact moment you should start. Because as I said before, children and older people, they have a lot of overlapping concepts, right? Before a certain age, you don't have to work. You get to play. You get to be in your creative space. You get to explore and tell people your favorite color and your favorite car and your favorite characters. You get to make all of these decisions with gusto. You get to be excited about it. And then you're tamed in the classroom, in the workspace, with rules and HR. And no offense to Felipe, I think rules are important, but those little things tap away. They carve away at your creative edges. Your inspiration gets told to be put into the folder for that free period you have. You get to have 2 electives. The rest is really focused and serious time. When you retire, you get to take that energy back. You get to tell them, I don't want to do your thing. I get to do more electives now. I could see myself living, and maybe you've heard this, so sorry if you have, but I could see myself living in a repurposed school. I would love to have an old schoolhouse that has, a few different classrooms there, things that I could leave as is. I would love to have the English room stay full of books, maybe English and writing in the same classroom, but just a space to go take in the word and write down the word. A chalkboard full of opportunity to just write whatever I want and then erase it at my leisure. I used to love being in a classroom and just kind of doing what I needed to do and then having it disappear. No paper trail. I would love to have a classroom set up for home economics. I would love to have 3 or 4 or 5 ovens at a time built into the wall. Heck, 5 different sinks too. It would be great. The reason though is because I would love to batch, cook for the homeless. I would love to maybe opening a catering side hustle. I love to feed people. Maybe I just want to have so many friends and family over that I need that many to make sure that the oven and the pies and the turkey and can all come together at the same time. The science room. I just think about these things, the art, the classroom where ceramics and paint can just live there forever. This is where I want to be in my retirement. And it's the school's fault. It 100% is me just wanting to go back to my happiest memories. And I'm excited about that. But my purpose remains even in my inspiration, right? I would love to be in those classroom settings. I would love to have the ability to mass produce anything at leisure and just to walk into a space and have it be fully devoted to that facet of my inspiration, my purpose, my passion. Not to have to clean up every time. What I love about a multi-purpose space is you can use it for lots of things, but you also have to clean up. There's something beautiful about leaving the painting there and just coming back and touching it up and then walking away and coming back again. Letting the light shift in the room naturally without having to shift the work. These are things that I've watched in movies and thought about when I've looked at paintings and wondered, was if you were an artist in the back Renaissance era, was your room only that? Did you sleep in your passion? Was it an art space that you happened to have a pillow in? And if that's true, then why am I not creating that kind of life for myself? Why aren't you? What is it going to look like? If you could be a kid again, if you could build the fort of your dreams, what would that fort look like? What is that thing that no matter how many times you've done the act, you still feel the need to show up and do it again? I'll tell you, coffee chats is one of them. I'm going to take a quick break here because I see some people coming in. Like I said, I think I said hello to Coach Carrie. Good morning. Dee, welcome. Happy Saturday to you. And David says, totally agree. Sometimes our creativity is stifled by rules, regulations, and to a certain extent, societal pressures. And I said this previously, there's probably a lot of unhappy accountants out there who want to be creative like singers or dancers or musicians. And their parents told them, no, go and get a real job. Newsflash, you can do both. I totally agree, David. 100%. Those people who told you, hey, stop, that's not what we're doing right now. I want you to focus on this other thing. This is your time to take that back. And you don't have to wait for retirement. You can do it now. You have to make space for the things that matter. Guys, if you're new to the show, I want you to please go check out the website, documentthenact.com. It is the premise in which I think all success lies. You have to write it down. You have to get clear. You have to get to work. Rinse and repeat. Do it often. I show up weekly here to do coffee chats with Melissa. It's a Saturday show that's been going for numerous years now. It started after a brief hiatus to put my mom to rest. She had passed away in 2022. I came back to LinkedIn, just needed to catch up a lot of my friends on what I had been up to and experiencing. And they have this beautiful thing called audio rooms. It very much reminded me of those phone chat lines I used to call in the 90s where everybody would kind of talk at once and we would just say whatever we wanted. And real conversations happen there. Eventually, LinkedIn realized they were hosting this huge party and they made some changes. They made us go live and stream. And so I'm on StreamYard. Shout out to them. I love the platform to use it. But we are streaming to numerous platforms now because of that shift by LinkedIn, the upgrade to StreamYard. I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube currently. Tomorrow, I'm also live with Felipe. We do careers, chaos, and coaching, and we're going to be talking about recruiters. And so go check that out. He's in the comments. You can find him. Follow us both. Make sure you're following the people in the comments. We have had so many great relationships start because of those audio events, because of these live events. And the wisdom is shared here and beyond. What I love about what I do and what I'm doing now, even live streaming and capturing it on all those platforms, is yes, it's self-serving to some extent. As a content creator, it makes sense for me to have followers. However, I wanted to harness this YouTube energy because my children and my friends and my family and the people who have gotten to know me over time as just listeners will always have that to return to. My voice will carry on beyond my time here. And I'm proud of that. I also was very grateful to write in a few books with friends from LinkedIn, guys. I'll come back here to the message in a second, but a message to my family. I am here and you are my legacy is a book that went bestseller internationally, collaboration book here on LinkedIn. You can find it on Amazon. It's also on Audible. I was listening to my own chapter of the book on Audible, and I really had to take a second and just absorb that ripple that's going to be there forever. And then because we love LinkedIn so much, we wrote a book together about that too, our love affair. More than a social media platform, we are linking in. And it was just a bunch of people who came together to, show up on LinkedIn like everybody has and really just do something different with it. So please, if you haven't checked those out, go find it. Go follow the publisher, Nicole and Guy Galindo. She also has the Gift of Bipolar writer and publishing. Go find her. She's fantastic. All right. So, guys, imagine getting all of this done, right? I'm going to use what I just told you. I've done all of these things with all of my friends, and you just want me to go sit down and watch soap operas? You want me to go do puzzles and forget life? And I say you because that's metaphoric. It's not you. Of course, not you. You guys are here doing the work. We would never say, hey, let's tuck away and stop showing up. That's not who we are on these platforms. If you're here on a Saturday, it's absolutely not who you are to just go away and hide and not put in more work. So if you're going to have to funnel that energy, if you know that no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to sit still because you're maybe a little bit like Melissa. She can't help herself. Girl has 3 jobs at all times. And then she also has 5 different crafting projects at all times. Why? Because I'm so passionate about so many things that I have to tap into it. I refuse to focus on one thing. They said niche down. You have to have something to focus on. I was like, great. I want to focus on humans. They're like, no, you don't get it. I was like, great. I want to focus on mindsets. No, you don't get it. Great. I want to focus on life. My wisdom is vast and wide because I have had so many various experiences, varying in nature, from receiving lessons, giving lessons, selling items, buying items, building businesses, helping close them down after it just didn't work. I have lived so many facets. I have climbed from welfare to a 6-figure income, self-sustaining. I have been an employee of a corporation and I've helped build them. What do I do with that? I just put it in my pocket and sit down and be quiet? It reminds me of that Dangerous Minds moment of don't go quietly into the night. If you're a 90s kid, tell me if you remember. If you were around in the 90s, they covered a poem, Dylan Thomas, and it was just something that resonated with me. I'm not going to go quietly. I'm going to be the loudest person in the room because you know what? You're not going to forget it. I'm going to make you smile. I'm going to seek out the person who's saddest and bring them that smile. I'm going to find out what's wrong and see if I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who could get it done. Do you think that's going to be able to be shut down at a certain age? It's just going to, power down. That's it. Reactor stopped working. No. So how are you going to channel it? Where are you going to show up to do it? Are you going to need permission? Are you creating a space? Because me, I've created my avenues. I can write books. I can show up on the internet. I can show up as a motivational speaker in public. I can do training online or in person. I have run businesses from my backyard, my bathing suit, my bed. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be cutesy. It's the truth. On days where my body was betraying me and did not want to function because I have arthritis, I was able to lay in bed and do my work. When COVID happened and the world was shut down, I was already a remote worker. Everybody was scrambling to learn how to do it, and I was able to teach tips, how to stay focused, how to actually work from home when nobody's watching you to see if you're doing the work. What are those skills that you could give when you look back? A lot of what I want to do is maybe be a stand-in grandma. And I'm going to explain this in a second, but I want to say good morning to Annette Gomez, one of my clients. She's an awesome voiceover artist, guys. You got to go check her out. And then Sean says good morning to Jay and Carrie and Felipe. As a grandmother, in my future, I see myself doing free cooking classes at the YMCA. I see myself volunteering at shelters and helping women with their resumes. Maybe budgeting, how to feed your family on a tight budget. I have motorcycle events where I host over 100 people a month. I have a very small budget, and I have found a way to work that out. Sometimes it's because I know how to cook from scratch and I can go ahead and make that just happen. Rice, beans, enchiladas. Everybody was happy. I was within my budget. Took a little time in the kitchen, but I got it done. On the offset side of that, when I was like, I'm tired of cooking that much food, I really just need a break. I was able to talk to a restaurant, work out a deal to where they could cater for us and I would help them. Wise, creative. That was self-serving in some ways. I'm serving the community, but it definitely helped me out. But what if I took that same kind of action plan, that mindset, that capability of doing the ask, capability of seeing how to make it happen within the constraints, and shared that? The reason I'm really good at feeding 100 plus people on $100 to $150, and really that's where I was, is because I had to feed an entire family on $240 a month. You learn how to make beans from scratch. You learn how to make rice at home. You learn what tomato paste can do with the right seasonings. You learn that pasta, when baked in those silver trays, it's a few dollars a pan. The sauce is the most expensive portion. And so when you know these things and you're lucky enough to understand, like you can scratch make the sauces too. You don't even have to buy the jar. You can reverse engineer these things because I learned how to think that way. I learned how to scratch cook early. I learned how to read a recipe and change it, alter it, swap, replace, substitute, elevate. If I can share that wisdom with the next generation, with the next human, with the person next to me at the grocery store, then I'm still helping. I still have purpose. Think about those little book stands. Felipe, I know if you're listening, it's going to tickle your ears. We've talked about those little libraries, and the people who co-wrote books, we'd love to drop those books that we write. And even Felipe, he's dropping his children's books around those little libraries. And I thought about the same thing with recipes, how-to manuals, those little stores that you can go and get baked goods or box cereal or whatever. What if you're really good at couponing? What if you're really good at finding the deals and taking your budget and stretching it? What if you could volunteer for the food bank and say, hey, I know you get financial dollars donated. Can I help you go to the store and get the most value for that? Because if I were to go and volunteer at a food bank, I could pack a box. I could check people in. I could give them bags. I could talk to the kids and help out with coloring pages to keep them busy. My better use would likely be give me the funds that you just had donated for food and let me call local restaurants, grocery stores, food wholesale providers and see if I can buy direct at a discount. Let's see if we can use our power as a food bank to ask them to help with the give and take that money and multiply it by using their passion to help us with our passion. There's no wrong answer. Everybody needs to do something, right? At the food bank, there's no bad job. There's no person not doing enough. But for Melissa, I know my ripple would be much wider if I could just get on the phone. Maybe you didn't get funding this week. Maybe you're not going to have the staples. Maybe you should call Melissa and say, hey, I need your help to rally some local businesses to get some funding for the food bank. That's my power. The ability, the skill set of harnessing outbound sales, business to business sales, doing networking and all of that, right? The relationship building, being able to pick up the phone and say, I need your help. People are hungry. If it's a passion that burns inside, why are we ignoring it? And that's something I have to really be accountable to myself for. I struggle with this a lot, and I'm going to be very transparent here. I freaking love my job. I almost said a really bad word. Okay. I wanted to say that other F word, but I freaking love my job. I get to feed the community. I get to serve people from an 8-year-old who just celebrated her birthday at my shop at the bicycle event, the monthly one we hold. Um, she brought a cake for everybody. All these grown-ups got to celebrate her birthday with her, and I had the entire room singing at the top of their lungs for her. It was a great experience. I have people, and I call them kids, but they're 20-some, 30-something-year-olds. They come in, and I give them the finger wag of, you need to be safe. You need to wear gear. You need to do this to make sure you're protecting yourself. And so I get called shop mom. I have a bunch of kids that just go, hey, mom, I need a new helmet. Hey, mom, I need a new jacket. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I have the older generation who have been riding longer than I've been alive, and I respect their stories, and I listen, and I get to be an ear for their life lived. I get to help them carry those stories forward. I love my job, but I also know the risk of this job. I love so many humans who put themselves on two wheels with nothing around them except the gear that I can offer, that they can afford, and that they're willing to wear. When I share my wisdom now, it doesn't always get received, and that's hard for me. Yesterday, one of my kiddos, I'm going to call him Richie Rich, just because I don't want to give you his real name. He's one of the kids. He calls me mom, or, we speak outside of the store even. He came to see me. I actually want him to work for me. I think he has a lot of potential, and he's just a great kid. And I told him to ride safe. He had come in not covered properly, and he knew he was in trouble by the face I was making. It was a very hot day yesterday, about 80 degrees outside. That's hot for the Pacific Northwest. We live at about 60 degrees usually. It was like 50 the day before, so it felt incredibly hot. You put on heavy layers and then get on a motorcycle, and you don't have AC, and you sit still and there's no wind. It's not fun to sit on top of a hot engine. So kiddo was riding around, Mr. Richie Rich was riding around without all of his protective gear. And I told him, I don't like this. You know better. He left my store, and not 5 minutes later, a truck ran him off the freeway. He's okay. Overall, he's fine. Mr. Richie Rich does have an incredible rash on his arm from the road. It is basically elbow to wrist. And he gave me a call and sent me photos, and we got to talk while he was at the hospital last night. I love sharing my wisdom. I can't always promise they'll take it, and that's something that I want you to think about when you're in your Inspirement too. I want you to be in a place where you know you can face it day in, day out, whether or not the other person can receive it. And that's the hard part. I love my freaking job, but I can't stay forever because I know how frustrated I get at these kiddos and the people I love and the people I respect and the people I serve when they don't respect their mission, their actions, when they don't respect their environment. And I'm not down talking them. But guys, it happens in cars too. We don't respect the vehicle we're in. We have four wheels. We get a cell phone going. We blast our music. We have things in our hand. We're chewing gum, eating Pop Rocks. I don't know. We're not focused. And there's a lot of risk that comes with those four wheels being next to those two wheels. He was next to 16 wheels yesterday. I hate what my brain does for me. And I'm sorry if this is triggering for you guys. It is a little bit for me, I'm going to be honest. But this is not inspiring to me to think about tomorrow's accident. And I hate that's where my brain is. But that is my job to plan for. That is the compliance aspect of my job, is to suit you up so when you crash, not if, but when you crash, you'll be okay. It's not just kids, Jay. I'm reading this. He says safety first, but these days kids do not want to listen. I'll be honest. It's not. It's not even the kids. It's humans. Some humans determine they're going to be okay, even when the the statistics, the truth, the facts are right in front of them that it probably won't happen. Some of my hardest sales of compliance and safety are for people older than me. When people first started in motorcycle riding, they weren't required to wear helmets. There's a lot of states out there that didn't have helmet laws. There are still states out there who don't. And so people got used to that. Hey man, I've been riding forever. I don't need to wear gear. I mean, heck, my husband was bungee corded, really just strapped to the gas tank of his dad's bike as a baby. That was the 80s. Just strapped down to the motorcycle on a road trip with mom and dad. Chaos, guys. I will say this. I love what I do. I've loved feeding the community. I love keeping them as safe as I have. And I had that conversation yesterday too, that had I not been mom, had I not given the finger wag enough, that maybe that yesterday could have been worse even. Because the kiddo even said, Richie Rich said, your voice was in my head. I wasn't riding stupid. I didn't have the right gear on. I was trying to be very safe. So I love that I have a ripple here, but long term, I don't want to watch the loss. As I age, I'm already going to see more loss, right? And this is a reality. This is a truth. And I'm aware of this because of what I did at such a young age. So as I grow, I want to play more. I want to have more fun. I want to share the best parts of life. For me, that is the food. For me, that is making sure ends meet financially, whether it's for a business that I'm volunteering for, or as of today, consulting, right? These are things I don't want to stop sharing as I go. As I get to retirement, though, here's the fun part. Hopefully, we are in a position to start paying off some of those overhead items. As you age, hopefully your bills are going to get smaller. Your mortgage gets paid off over time. The car gets paid off over time. Maybe you don't need to have as many things as you used to. You're not buying a new cell phone every few years. You're really just happy with what you have and you're going to maintain it. And we see this, right? Sometimes it's budgetary. Sometimes it's just because at a certain age, you know what you like, you get it and you leave it alone. You buy once and you keep it forever and you just take care of your things. So if your overhead's low, maybe your retirement is a possibility, but maybe you have to work a little bit too, right? Maybe there's a little bit of both things happening. It's okay if you can't fully retire, no work. But if you're going to have to work, can you work in something that gives you life, that brings energy? If I go back to the first part of the show and I talk about the things that would bring me energy. Every time I play in the garden, I don't care how exhausting the work is, I feel better. I feel so excited. I might take a short nap, but genuinely I'm on a buzz for 24 to 48 hours because I got to play in the dirt. I got to play in my plants. I remember being a toddler getting in trouble from my grandma because I took all her spoons outside to dig in the dirt and they were all bent. It was Arizona. It was clay. It wasn't dirt. It was hard. But I've always enjoyed the process of being in the dirt. And so if that is just exciting for me to go out and work a garden and feed people from it, that's going to be energy building. It's going to be energy giving. It's going to feed the humans in a way that maybe I'm not able to do the same anymore other ways, right? Maybe I can't feed them because I'm running a motorcycle shop, but I can still show up and feed them by letting them take the food home and cooking it for their family. Escaping from life should not be the plan for retirement. You should be engaging life more. The things that bring life to life, right? What are those, and drop it in the comments, what were those electives you took in school? What were those extracurriculars you did that you were like, man, I wish they'd let us do this more in class. I wish we could do this full time instead of this other topic. What is it? I have watched. Okay, so this is going to be rough, and I don't want to use big blanket statements. And I'm sorry if you're younger and this applies and it hurts, or older, right? But I'm seeing some overlap. I'm a big fan of the Venn diagram for those of us who are just meeting. I'll explain it quickly in case you don't know. It's two circles. The Venn diagram brings them together to have that center of like information. If you have two women standing next to each other, they might both be female. That would be a bullet point that overlaps in the center. One might have brown hair, the other might have brown hair. That would be an overlapping trait. They're both brunette. We could have that in the center of those two overlapping circles. Think MasterCard logo. It's a well-known design, but that is a Venn diagram. And those things that don't overlap in the circle, those are the differences, right? When I think about the variables of generations today, there are people who are under 18 who look like they're in a retirement home. They only come out of their room for meals. They have to be reminded to take care of themselves and bathe and do hygiene. They need reminders for whatever it is, like, apply your cream, apply your lotion. It's time to do the laundry. It's over, whatever it is. I've seen it on both sides of the spectrum. There are youth who have all of this energy, but they live like they have none. They're escaping their reality because they're not inspired by it. Too many moments of forced subjects, not enough electives. The same thing happens in retirement for the older generation. Their choices were removed. Maybe they didn't get the retirement they planned for. Maybe they didn't get the house they wanted. Maybe they never got to go on the dream trip. Maybe they didn't get the raise they wanted. There's so many ways it could play, right? And instead of releasing that and just diving into the things they want to do now, they hold on to the wish they could have, to the things that they don't have. That kills energy, guys. If you're at a buffet, okay, and I love food analogies because people eat. If you go to a buffet and you're really excited because you've been thinking about this buffet all day and your favorite thing is maybe the rolls, right? Let's just think about bread. People love bread. Hot rolls from this buffet, favorite thing in the world. You get up to the buffet, the guy in front of you takes the last three. You're mad, frustrated. My whole meal's ruined. I'm rubbing my forehead at the thought of this moment. Actually, I just frustrated myself, and I don't know how I did it, but let me be honest. I just frustrated myself because my first thought is, guys, it's a buffet. More are coming. The feeling of defeat that everything is wrong, everything is done, it's all ruined now, is a mindset that people take into retirement too, and I would love for that to change. Because the truth is, even in that mindset, you're escaping reality. It's not a truth. It's not. You're escaping the opportunity to be victorious. To go, you know what? I'm going to be the first one here for the hot, fresh batch. I'm just going to wait right here until they bring it. I know they're coming. And I've never been at a buffet that didn't see an empty tray and swap it out pretty quickly, right? What are those things that you could swap out? Use a different analogy. Think of that old grumpy person in your life. I thought of grumpier old men, Walter Matthau, and what's the other guy's name? I'm such an 80s kid, but I think of that retirement where they're just neighbors picking at each other the entire time. All they do is just harass and terrorize, and it's how can I up the next guy? That's an option. That could be your retirement plan. You could definitely do that. I've seen it done. They've made movies about it. Or you can find something you overlap. Maybe there's something in the middle you guys actually get along about. Maybe you guys both love something. Maybe you could build into that energy. Maybe you both love the garden. Maybe they can plant the thing you don't really eat, but it will help your tomatoes grow. Find a reason to get happy with that thing, right? What are those negative things that you're planning for? See, no, want to avoid. If you don't plan for it, it's going to happen. If you're on a road trip and you don't plan for the flat, guess what's guaranteed going to happen because of Murphy's Law? Or, fine, you don't plan for it, you got AAA, that's cool. Are you frustrated while you wait for AAA when you knew that you would have to wait because you're the one who planned to wait? What are you offering yourself as solutions? What are these plans you have for you in the future? The things you're watching now that you don't want to replicate, how are you going to avoid it? This one's important, guys. Keep going where your spirit can breathe. You know that feeling when you're in the room you're not supposed to be in, with people you're not supposed to be around. I can't tell you what it is that makes them not your person, not your people, not the group, not the room. However, you do. What are those spaces that make it feel like you just can't breathe in life, where you just can't breathe in inspiration, where every time you breathe, it feels like it just sucks it from you? You don't even want to open your mouth because you can feel it just pulling. Again, my brain's just on fire today, but I'm imagining Little Mermaid, Ursula, just pulling her song out of her body, pulling that spirit away. Who takes your song? What are those tasks, spaces, places, people that make you feel like that? Do you know you could never do a dish again if you decided dishes were the thing that made your spirit die? You really could. I know it seems impossible, but genuinely, you have takeaway restaurants, you have paper plates, you have single serving baking dishes, you can grill. If you don't want to wash pans, you have options. You could bake. You could hire somebody to do the dishes. You could hire a chef. You could DoorDash, right? There's all of these things. Eat raw. Don't even cook it. How bad do you want it? How important is it for you? Because I got to be honest, guys, it's going to come back to accountability. You are responsible for your retirement. You are responsible for every day you live and how you're going to let that day go. If you're in spaces that make you uncomfortable, you determine how long you stay there. You determine if it's worth the effort or not. If you feel like you can't breathe in a space, ask yourself if it's worth holding your breath. Sometimes it is. Right? Sometimes it is. You have to figure that out. But if every day is a gift, and I believe it truly is, I have lost so many people at such a young age. They should have been here in my brain, right? They're in their 20s, gone. I'm in my 40s, and I am grateful for every day because I have already doubled their time here. If that is true, what am I going to do with my day? What am I going to allow or not allow if this is a gift? Who's going to ruin my gift? Who am I going to allow to do that? And for how long? I'll be honest. You get in front of me in the fast lane, the left lane that is supposed to be passing, and then you get back over. You're supposed to get back over into the right lane. Once you pass, just get back over. If you just park there, you're frustrating me. You are. And you know what? I lose that battle at least 10, 15 seconds in my brain before I realize, no, you're not going to let them do this to you. Take a deep breath. But it's a choice. I have a choice to leave earlier, to not need to get there at a certain time. I have a choice to take a different path. I have a choice to just stay in the right lane and stay out of the left lane. I would have no expectations of going faster if I was in the right lane. These are choices I can make to avoid that feeling in the moment because I can't control the other cars. If I get so frustrated in my car that I can't breathe, maybe I shouldn't be in the car. And I'm not that bad. But could I be? Sure. I have sat as a cab driver in Phoenix traffic. I have harnessed the ability to be calm. It definitely helps as a business owner when you're watching the clock tick and it's making you money. It's a different mindset. And that's genuinely where I flipped it around. But even if I'm not making money, it's costing me energy to be upset. It's costing me energy to try to want to control the other vehicle, the other person, the other actions around me beyond my own. Retirement, inspirement. Are you going to be in control of those things? It's going to be harder to live the life you want if you're going to have to co-live with other generations, other humans who get to also have their input. And that's okay. You have to decide how you want to do it. I have told my family I am not opposed to being in a retirement community at all. I am absolutely wanting it to be a privately hosted community where you would get your own personal apartment space, where they would have staff on site in case you fall and they can help you up, but not necessarily in your room. I would love to have bingo nights, and I hope they bring a DJ, and I hope we do costume contests. And I've seen these reels on Facebook and all the other places where the retirement communities have games and they have fun and they do different things. That's the space I would be okay in. I would love that same vibe at home if I'm not in a retirement community. I want game nights. I want trivia and arts and crafts and music. And I want to open up all of the windows when it rains and blast Beethoven for no reason because I can. I don't want to have to ask permission. So I can live both lives. I have both versions of myself available. I'm going to need headphones in that first community. If I'm not in the community, then I'm just going to open up my doors and the neighbors are going to have to deal with Beethoven. Hopefully they're far enough away they don't have to hear it much. What is your spirit asking for now? What are you going to need to amplify in retirement? Because I take these moments now. When it rains, I go right to the window. It's how I wrote the books. I actually couldn't even write unless it was raining, and we had a little bit of a dry spell right at the deadline of the books, and I was really nervous because I needed that energy. It's where I liked to create. So I sought it out. I'm an Arizona girl who moved to Washington because I needed rain to be creative. I get a lot of it. I also love music. And so I'm always playing it, singing it, whatever. I want to carry that forward. I love it on records. I have always been that kid who was at grandma's house listening to records. The quality was a little scratchy. There was something a little bit imperfectly perfect about it. I want to carry that forward and I want to bring it in. And so if I can't be in a space that allows it, I won't go. Why? Because music keeps me moving. When I'm having a bad day, if I get down because my body hurts from the arthritis, even at this age, I turn on music. I'll start wiggling. I'll start moving my body enough to get the aches to, kind of dissipate, to stretch, to bend, to pull, to do all the things they tell me, but only when the music's on. Otherwise, I don't want to do it. I need to be inspired. So I'm going to have that same space as I get older and the body aches more. What are those things in your life that are your arthritis, your pain points, your hip is just a little achy every time it happens? What does retirement look like if you can't do the work? What is the work you would do? Would you be a knitting grandma, one that would just still make baby blankets and send them down to the hospital with your family member when they come to visit? Just, hey, can you drop these back off over at the hospital? I made another batch. Maybe you're doing like others. I've seen where they're taking their grocery bags and making sleeping mats for the homeless out of them. They're just braiding them. They're just tying them off to each other and just making sleeping pads out of them. donated grocery bags, repurposing, recycling. That's something that could happen. You do it at your leisure, do it as you want. It would keep you connected to others, give you somebody to talk to while you did it. Those are the kind of things I want you to think about. If you love to communicate with people, where are you going to create that space as you age? Where are you going to breathe in that life as you grow? How are you going to have that access? Do you create the space yourself? I know some do like a Bible study. They love to bring their community to their home. They get to still feed the community. It's something I've thought about. I used to love going to my Bible study leader's home, and she'd always have a little snack on the counter, and we got to just hang out with like-minded individuals, really dive into deep conversation. It's very much like coffee chats, in my opinion, just different topic. I would love to replicate that as I age. Guys, I will be opening up the stage in a little bit. If you want to message me on LinkedIn, I can send the invite over for you to join. Just want to finish up a couple of ideas here, but I would love to know what your inspirement looks like. When you're not working anymore, what is the work you will do to stay happy, passionate, filled? What is the ripple you hope will maintain, even if it's a seed you've already planted? Maybe, you did your book, your work, your thing, and it's just nonstop available. Maybe your YouTube was already built and you've found your success. Maybe you just need to ride that tide, but what does it look like? I think about Stephen King as an author because he's somebody who's well known by all, right? There's not many who don't know who Stephen King is. And I think about what retirement would look like for him. Is he going to stop writing, or is he going to just do more of what he did in his time, in his free time? And if he got paid to do his thing, is it actually retirement? And so should we call it retirement if you're paid to do your thing you're inspired to do? Or should we call it inspirement? Because honestly, I'm not going to say, hey, no, thank you. I'm done working now. Stop giving me money. Stop giving me money now. I don't want it anymore. I don't need it. No, I retired. Stop paying me. That's not a thing. Residuals, the interest, the profits, the 401k, the stocks, the whatever. I want to stay earning the rest of my life because bills will continue to increase, right? The risk of needing more medical treatment will increase, all of these things. And so I can't say retirement is my goal. I want unlimited income to continue. I want to earn until the day I pass. I just do. It doesn't mean I want to work every day, but I want to earn every day. Does that make sense? Do you guys get it? Are you with me? If you have to work near what inspires you. So if I'm going to stay busy, and I know this, and I know I want to earn, and I know I want to continue to just add to my nest egg in case. Because the truth is what if I want to give away $1 million to somebody? What if I want to be able to just have the choice? If I ever win the lottery, if I ever become, a millionaire, multimillionaire, I'm just going to give. I'll never be a billionaire. I won't allow myself to do it because I am inspired to change people's lives the way others have changed mine. Whether it's just a new pair of shoes for the job interview or helping them with a down payment on a car so they can get going. I would love to have scholarship programs for single moms or single humans who have children or people who don't have children. Just the single humans who didn't have a lot of support growing up and now they're adults and they're expected to figure it out. I know what homelessness stems from. I know the causation and the effect because I was there. When I turned 18, I did not have my life together. I did not have a support network that I wished I had. There was no real stability in our family because so many were in need at the same time. That said, I am not unique. My sad story is told every day by many others, right? And I had to overcome mine, but I had the tools to do it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever it was, I found a way. And that wisdom I need to share. And if I have the capability of sharing wisdom plus something to sustain them, whether it's the food, the financing, the whatever, that's my inspirement plan. If I have to work, I want to keep working on the things that work for other people. If I have to work, I want to do the kind of work that makes other people put in the work for other people. It's the pay it forward movement. Again, I'm an 80s kid. Haley Joel Osment broke my heart. Do you remember the movie? Pay it forward. Why not be the one who makes that kind of change before we go? And work is subjective. Putting in the work is something you have to determine, like, what does that look like for you, right? Are you putting in the work to learn? Maybe you don't know what you're inspired by yet. Maybe you've been so busy doing the checklist for other people, doing what, like David said earlier, your parents told you to do. Your parents are accountants. You need to do numbers. It makes money. That's the answer. We're not paying for college unless you're an accountant. You could do anything else you want, but you got to get the degree. You got to do this first. This is our requirement of you, or else. And as children, we take that or else very seriously. And we put our dreams, our thoughts, our feelings in our pocket. And not every parent does this, but not every parent doesn't. So if you're allowed to not take the prerequisites anymore, you're not required to do math and English and science if you don't want. What are the things that in school, in life, made you ask questions and do research without asking? Like without being told, just something where you see it, you're like, oh man, I got to go down the rabbit hole on that concept. I got to dive in. There's no way you could stop me from spending hours on this. Because I will say this, when we've talked about this in audio rooms for years, we've talked about the energy that those youth harness. You could have a kid come in on a Friday afternoon and they're like, oh my gosh, school was terrible. I hated it. I couldn't. I'm so tired. 10 minutes in their room. They're back in a headset. They're on with their friends. You start hearing laughter. You start hearing energy. You start hearing excitement. Somehow, you're up hours later going, what are you still doing awake? I thought you were tired. Didn't you have a long day? Why are you up? Well, inspiration hit. They found something that inspired them enough to find energy that was in their pocket. It was something that wasn't draining. It filled their cup as they went. I'm looking through some of the comments here. Jay says, keep going makes me think of continue, because if you keep going, you will continue to succeed. Nobody can take away your abilities because you have the ability to do anything. Christine says, after years of being in the field doing sales, I've built an extreme tolerance for traffic, bad drivers, etc. Yeah, sales keeps you on the road quite a bit. It's good to learn that tolerance. Kenny says, today's conversation is so delectable, scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly tasty good. I need my glasses for these things. Christine says, my family and I have discussed going back to community living like my brother and my sister. And maybe we get older, maybe some of our kids. I don't know. That's how it used to be. Yep. Leanna, welcome. Happy Saturday to you. Fortunately, Kenny says he has no pain except some people. Such a pain in that. Whoops. Christine says she's going to teach. Bill, welcome. Good morning. Glad you're with us. Will says he's inspired with us, which is cool. And then Kenny, I love what I do and do what I love. So I will keep on working until I can't. My work doesn't feel like work, so I do it effortlessly. I can't. Effortlessly. Thank you. Savor the flavor and awesomeness in that. Definitely should have brought my glasses. So, guys, I'll say this, right? I would love to know that thing that keeps you curious. I know for me, LinkedIn keeps me curious. There are topics of every kind on this platform that my friends and their friends and their friends' friends cover. We share about, we harness our expertise and then put it into writing or video or audio format, and we put it out here for others. And I love that. I'm a kid who, if I see a microscope and I'm allowed to walk up to it, I'm going to look at what's on the slide. I'm going to figure it out. I want to know what contrast to use. What microscope power is it? Is this a person, place, thing, animal, vegetable, mineral? What are we looking at? And I'll never not be curious about it. When I was in school, I struggled in science. I hated the day-to-day science class, but I loved labs. I ended up failing my science class because I didn't do my daily work lab journal. Funny, document then act girl wasn't documenting her work daily. So I did a science summer school makeup. In that classroom, it was nothing but labs all the time, all hands on, all go, go, go. We were building, touching, prepping slides. I loved it. The teacher built a rain gutter system with a pump and a tank using river water to replicate the natural river in Arizona. We got to take slides and put the water under microscopes throughout the time in the class. And as it was growing, the different life was changing and evolving. It was so exciting. The teacher and I were able to send in something I found in the water. I had found what looked like a freshwater version of an octopus. Very microscopic. I mean, so tiny. But he had never seen it. He tried to research it. He sent it off to the journal. I still don't know what happened, guys. Never went back because we had to move. I never followed up with the teacher. Don't even remember the teacher's name at this point to do some research. But I got to tell you, I'm always excited about thinking about what you can't see right around you. Like what happens? It's really gross too if you think about it. But let's not get into that. But it's exciting for me. It's something I would do. I love art. It doesn't matter. Crayons, color, paper, markers, paint, ceramics, food, baking, decorating. It doesn't matter. You give it to me, I'm in. Let's do it. You want to rearrange your house? I love to interior design too. It's who I am. I want to learn more about color palettes at all times. There's no time we couldn't talk art that I'm not interested. Maybe I should be doing the art classes at the retirement home. Maybe I should take classes. Maybe I should go back to college and get a degree in art. Why not? I love school. I didn't love my teachers. I didn't love educators who told me what to think. I wanted them to teach me how to think. But as a grown-up, going back to school, I think it would feel different, especially if all of the classes I'm taking, I get to elect I'm taking, right? It's required to go to school when your parents tell you. It's required to get good grades when your parents tell you. It's required to pass certain things to get the degree, to get the job. That's required to sustain yourself. But when you're 40 something, like me, none of that's required. I don't have to do it. So it's all an elective. It's all an action I'm choosing to do. And so what would I be curious enough about to go to school, to go back to school for? When I first went to college, I had this similar mindset. I'm opting in now. This is my turn. And I went to school to learn about the history of religions. I went to school to learn about the history of drugs. And I was shocked to find out we have our government to thank on a lot of that. But I wanted to understand it as an addict's daughter. Like, why? Where did this come from? What is going on here? Somebody explain it to me, right? I took those things because they were curious. They created curiosity within myself, and I knew I could be impassioned to solve for that. If you know the ins and outs of everything, are you excited to go to work? When you drive, we've talked about driving, right? If I don't know what to expect, I'm definitely going to have to be focused. When I go to a new city and I've never driven on their freeway and I'm not sure which turn and exchange, I have to be focused. Hi, Lauren. Actually, your face just popped in my brain. I've talked to Lauren where she's like, hold on, I got to think now. Hold on, I've never been here. Wait a second. So What are those things in your life where it's so new that you have to not be on autopilot anymore? Where you can't just do it because you know how to drive. Your car, if you've driven, how many of us go into what feels like an autopilot? Are you actively saying, okay, turn the signal now? Okay, make sure you have 15 feet of distance before you get over and merge. And no, you just do. You know the timing, you know the dance, you know the space and the feel, and it's there. You don't have to talk yourself through every step. But the first time you tie your shoe, you're like, okay, we go across and around the tree and over the woods and whatever the rabbit did. I don't know. I didn't learn that way. But you get what I'm saying. What are those things that make you ask questions? What are those things that you can't autopilot? What are those things you refuse to turn on autopilot for? You're going to savor every single second of this moment. You don't want to miss a moment because this is your favorite part of the day. When I got into Harry Potter, I went down a rabbit hole. I really wanted to read everything. I wanted to read all the books within the books. I wanted to just experience every facet of everything I could because it was so magical. And just even being in the Harry Potter world, you have this whole imaginary school, different, classrooms or houses, different styles of personalities within each. You get to learn this, and then everybody's taking these tests to see which ones they are. And I opted in. I loved it. I wanted to know a little bit about everything. It got to the point where we've even had Harry Potter Christmas in my house because I loved it so much. It was a passion. But it's only because I allowed my curiosity to grow and evolve and shift and dive in and play. I put in more work to read. I've put more hours in on Harry Potter than I think any other book ever. But why not? It kept me curious. It kept me moving. It kept me reading words and thinking about the writer. And even though I don't align on all of their belief systems, I do love the premise of just being in a cafe, grabbing a napkin and starting to write down what's on your brain. To be so inspired and so impassioned in that moment that nothing's going to stop you from capturing it on paper. To find time, to feel curious enough to go, how am I going to fit in writing time today after working a full-time job, having the kids? The story JK told about the messy house and the messy life and the messy whatever, but still being curious enough about this passion to find the time. There are so many people that found their greatness in retirement. I was talking to a customer actually who said he's retired. That's what started a lot of this thought for me. Was he plays in 3 bands. He's in 3 different music groups. He comes in, he rides motorcycles. He talks about how he's retired and he's busier than ever. I saw somebody else make that comment. People say that too. Are they busy with the things they wanted to do their whole life? Or are they busy cleaning up the mess of the life they lived? Are they trying to sustain a life in the same old way they always did, or did they change it? If retirement is to stop doing what we did before, we're going to retire the actions we had, right? What are we retiring and what aren't we? What are those things that are going to keep you wanting to learn more, grow, not shut down and go, I've learned it, I've seen it, I don't want to listen to you. Because I've seen that happen too. Oh, I hate it when I can look at somebody who's been a pillar of their industry for 20 years. They've been the go-to. And then new tech, new turn, new twist to the industry. Something overhauls it completely and it's no longer the same. And they can't keep up. They refuse to go. They're not curious enough about it because they've determined they are the answer. How long are you going to be happy in that place if the people around you don't see curiosity or an ability to absorb or move or shift or learn, overlap with them on their concepts? What's going to inspire the people around you? Because it's not just about us either. Like, it should be a little selfish. I'm going to give you 95%. Let's be selfish 95% in our inspirement. This is our time. We've done the work for others, especially for my life. I think, I've been a mom. I had 2 biological children, 2 additional children because my husband had them before we got together. That's 4 kids I helped raise in my own house. I'm the eldest cousin of a very dysfunctional upbringing. We had 7 aunts and uncles is what I had. I had 17 cousins that I was babysitting on average here and there and everywhere. I was always responsible for somebody. At 16, I was a full-time caregiver dropping out of high school. So even then, not a kid. When most people are going to prom, I was going to pick up prescriptions. Sometimes I couldn't even pick up the prescriptions. I wasn't old enough. It was just a unique life. So when I look at my future forward, I want to be a little selfish. I've never had my 20-something time to do what others may have gotten to do. I never got to travel the world to see which corner I love the most. I did travel quite often with my family. We moved. We did some state-to-state moves. It was cool. The kids got to experience it, but it wasn't the traveling we expected. So I want to keep going. Gotta be honest, the East Coast is screaming at me right now. I can't wait to travel to DC. I can't. I'm in Washington now. They always say, oh, DC? No, not DC, state. But when I think about DC, I just think about the history and the curiosity of what created America and the steps. And it's all there. The Smithsonian, I want to go and just walk it. And I'm probably going to need a whole week just for that building. The buildings. I hear there's more than one even. Not sure. I want to go. These are the things I want to do. Could I go be a greeter? Could I volunteer and maybe have special access? Maybe. And honestly, as a coach, a consultant, that's the first thing my brain does is how do I get full access without having to pay? How do I get the in? How do I get invited by the owners to the party instead of waiting for somebody to invite me from under the owner's pay grade? Right? I couldn't come in the front door of most businesses because I didn't have that degree they required. But if I talked to the same business, but just had access through the owner first, said, hey, Bob, I want to help you with your business. You won't even hire me because HR says I need a degree. But man, I could teach HR to see beyond the degree. Boom, I'm in. Same concept with my passions. What if I could volunteer at the museums? What if I could somehow go and engage? What if I could just ask for a special pass? Do you have special viewing times? I'm curious enough to ask the questions about what don't I know? Is there a thing already in existence for this kind of desire? Do you allow this already? Has anybody ever been so curious as to ask? I saw a night at the museum. Can we party at the museum overnight? Let me know. Guys, I could spend a lifetime in a space like that because I love the ripple of the history behind it. One piece sitting in a museum. How many thousands or hundreds of thousands of people have seen that? How many people touched it? How much life has that item lived through? Was it revered in its time in the same way? I think of the Native Americans growing up in Arizona. I did a lot of visits to the museums there. And when I did, I would see how they would grind corn on the stone. And I love the concept of it. And I've wanted one at home to make salsas and other things because, oh my gosh, the mocoletes, right? That's how they do that in Arizona. And I think it's great. And the history behind it, just the reverence I have for the practice because of all of the history behind it. And then I just wonder, what about Sally? Mom says, hey, get over there and grind the corn. And she's like, man, I hate this thing. Did she have reverence for it? Did she understand that stone, the 2 pieces of stone rubbing together, was how they lived, survived? Because that's what I was taking it. Or the rug weaving where I got to see the tribe And actually they had somebody from the tribe there actually doing the work, how they had done it historically forever, hand weaving the rugs. And I got to watch it happen, and I thought, how cool is that? I want to leave something like that for my kids. I can't sew a dime. I nothing. I can't nothing. No knitting, no yarn. But I have a book for them. I have a YouTube channel for them. I'm leaving them a different kind of tapestry. I'm painting a picture in their mind I hope they can take forever. And eventually, I hope I get to the class that's going to teach me how to basket weave, rug make, glass blowing. I don't care. I want to do it all. Maybe one day I'll travel with the Renaissance Festival. I thought that would be a great job. I would love to just give you wine. I don't care what it is. I would just love to watch you enjoy the time, the era, the period. It's always been something fun. What makes you want to be here? Why would we want to go back and play with no electricity and no running water? Because there's something cool about the history of it all. The places we've come from, the places we're going. What is the history we're going to leave? Because I'm experiencing a couple hundred years ago's reflection time and just the things that have been introduced to me in my lifetime because of those lifetimes. What is it we're leaving? I'm going to take this moment, guys. I know it's in retirement versus inspirement. I'm inspired to ask you to not let AI leave your only ripple. And I'm not talking crap. I love AI. I use it. But when the world looks back on what you're leaving behind, are they going to see you? Are they going to be able to differentiate you from the rest and what made you unique, like those rugs? Every tribe had their own pattern, their own style, their own color scheme, their own way of dyeing the fabric, their own way of harnessing it. The textures, the feels, the colors, all of it mattered. It was all super unique. And what's really cool about that is even today, you turn on the Antiques Roadshow, it takes them seconds to be able to differentiate what's happening. They can tell right away who did it. And I just want to know, do you guys have that in your life? Is your brand, your persona, your presence, your ripple that unique? Is it something you know that when they see it later, it's going to stand the test of time and not be confused? I don't want to be one of those mass-produced pieces, guys. Right? I want to have my own space. Now, for me, when I tell people what I want to be when I grow up, or the ripple I want to have, or what my font looks like, I'm a little bit of Lisa Frank. I'm a little bit of Betty White. I'm a little bit of Google and a blender. Now that matters to people who live today, right? It makes sense if I say that. You guys can Venn diagram those concepts. You can put it together. You can understand who she is. In 100 years, they may not know who Lisa Frank is. They may not understand what Google was. They may not even know who Betty White is at that time. I'm hoping that's not true, especially the last one. I could care less about Google as much as I do Betty. But are they going to be able to see me and still see something that correlates to those three in a blender? Is it going to be the stamp they see? Are they going to see the color, the fun, the bubbles, the energy, the passion, the glitter? Are they? I hope so. And I hope as I grow, as I'm building, as I'm creating, that I don't lose those facets of myself in the future. I don't want my physical or mental, financial limitations, whatever they may be, to change that, to give me a life I don't want to live. And so I wanted to bring this conversation to you guys today for the same reason, right? When we talk about this topic, are you planning for a retirement or inspirement? When we're talking about the different ways that life can play out, the different facets that make life life, the things that, again, as a life coach, I'm covering: the career, the mindset, the leadership, alignment, the relationships, even the confidence. How confident are you that you get to retire in a life you want to live? Are you creating that space? If you are the bird building the nest, what does the nest look like? Who gets to determine it if it's not you? My favorite quote, it is my own. And I know that's a little big headed, but guys, victory and victim both start out the same way. It's up to you how it ends. Life is lifing for everybody. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody has bad moments in a day. Everybody has the worst part of their day that they can pull out of their hat every day. It could have just been, dang it, I didn't have more day. That was the worst part. It was such a good day. I wish I had more. Still sad it ends, right? That's the goodbye is the worst part. But everybody has that every day. Everybody has the best day every day ready to have too. You have your best moment. I don't care if it was the chocolate milk. I don't care. If that was the best moment, it was the best moment. But do you know what they are so you can replicate them? Because if your best moments are the classical music, the chocolate milk, the time to plant and sow and harvest, and then you need to know that so you can plan that. So when you are 80, you know you have chocolate milk in the fridge at all times. You know that you need to get outside and play in the garden at least for half an hour a day. You know that just talking to your best friend over coffee is the best way to play. So every morning you guys meet at the local coffee store and you just have that coffee for a little bit. Have the conversations. Be nosy and listen to the people around you and invite yourself in. Happens at Starbucks all the time. You have to think about your life, your choices. If you want to show up, how do you want to show up? What is the story you're going to tell? Why are you going to tell it? What benefit is there to your ripple, your life, your memory when you're gone? Because guys, it's easy. As a 90s kid or 80s kid growing up in the 90s, who remembers the awesome Jerry Springer? Do you remember it? Can you remember a couple other game or talk show hosts at the time? Who comes to mind? When I think about the names I gave in my head, right? Like Jerry Springer. And then I also thought Ricky Lake. By now you should be thinking maybe Oprah, maybe Phil Donahue popped in. Sally Jesse Raphael popped in. I'm that old, right? When I think of their brands, what memories, what feelings, what ripple were there? If I think about Oprah, the first thing that comes to mind is her, everybody gets a car, arms out, head shaking, arms waving, everybody's getting excited. It's great. That's what I remember. When I think of Phil Donahue, he reminded me of a grandpa I wish I had, like a really cool uncle who was always just like, that didn't make sense to me, and I'm going to say so. I'm not going to let that behavior slide. He was an uncle who wasn't mean, but he wasn't playing around. That was my take. Sally, Aunt Sally, same way. Loved her red lip. I loved her glasses. I loved she could rock it. But she also gave me that face, a little Judge Judy kind of vibe for those who don't know. I know you know Judge Judy, right? It was kind of like that, and she would just hold her chin in. Yeah, let me call you on your crap real quick. But then there's Jerry. And Jerry was just sadness and chaos and messy, and it was gloriously exciting as a teenager to see the chaos, the drama. But if I think about retirement, if I think about one of those hosts being in charge of the life I live and their filter, just their quick, this was Melissa synopsis. Who do you think I want hosting my show? Who am I going to give the mic to? Who am I going to let dictate how it's going to play? Who gets to be in charge if it's not me? If you're not in charge, you have to determine who gets to be. And if they get to be, what life are you going to live? Is it your dream life? Is it your inspirement? Are you going to retire everything you've ever been hoping for and put it away? Because that's what I'm asking you guys. I don't want you to retire. I want to retire the word. I want to put it away and forget about it because I don't like it. It's to fold away, right? Just to retire it and bring out the new. And I hear we're going to retire this equipment. It means we're going to go destroy it. It's gone. It's dead. It's no longer useful. I want to be useful. I want to be inspirational. Even if it's just to Betty, who's across the way, sitting in her rocker going, oh, I have nothing to do or live for anymore. It's all over. It's all done. I'm retired. Maybe I'm going to inspire Betty to come out with me. Maybe I'm going to knock on Betty's door and say, hey, you want to come down to the food bank? They need somebody to bag some stuff. I'm going to be on the phone the whole time. Write your story. Bring your friends. Add them in. You're allowed to engage others in your story. How can you inspire each other, your community, the person in the mirror? I want you to think about it, guys, because this is what I've been thinking about all week. How am I going to live a life that's going to keep me excited to be there? How am I going to keep moving forward? How am I going to give back when I know that is what I need to do? You get to define your own success. What does retirement success look like? Who's there? What are you doing? How are you doing it? Are you staying still? Are you traveling? Is it a show on the road? Are you going to be in an RV doing it one campsite at a time? Are you going to be a pillar of your community that everybody knows? Anybody can come to your little library in your front yard, your food pantry in your front yard. You guys get to decide. And I want you to figure it out for you, because my answer may not be your answer. My dream may be the furthest thing from your dream. It could be your complete nightmare. And I'm 100% okay with that, as long as you don't have to live it if you're not willing. That's the point of the show, is don't let somebody else tell you what retirement looks like. Don't let somebody else determine how you're going to spend your life once you no longer have to answer to your boss, your bills, right? Because the truth is, if you can get those taken care of to a point where they're set it and forget it, that's the dream. Because then everything else is a choice you get to make every day. As long as you're not chasing the money to make the ends meet, you get to determine how you spend your time. That's inspiring. Having the choice back. Because as kids, we made choices with or without permission. As toddlers, we didn't even care. We had to learn there was a punishment if we kept doing that. Eventually, we get the authority of our lives, but we have authority placed on us, whether it's the mortgage company, whether it's the boss, the family, the bills, all these little things keep us in line. The speed limit on the road keeps us in line, because I could totally just swoop around these slow people if I wasn't going to cross that double yellow. But what happens when you no longer have to follow all of the rules? You're not going to bypass the street rules, and I'm hoping you don't, because I care about those people on 2 wheels and 4 wheels. The people walking their dogs, like there's a ripple there too. But what about those other things? What if you don't have to worry about appeasing others all the time? Doesn't mean to be a jerk. Doesn't mean to be the grumpy old person in the retirement community. Don't be Oscar on the Sesame Street. Just please. But how do you smile waking up? How do you look yourself in the mirror and go, man, I'm so glad for the day you gave me today. Man, I'm so glad for being able to make something happen today, because I don't maybe have it tomorrow. As I get older, it gets a little heavier in thought. It does. The more time I spend on earth, the less time I have remaining. Statistically speaking, it's just a fact. There's only so much time. And 120, I think, is the highest I've ever heard recorded ever or something. It's crazy. I don't want 120. And since I know I don't want 120, I'm certain I'm not going to get it. But the time that I have here, I want to make the most of it. I want to inspire others. I want to have people just think, ask the questions, ask the good ones, the hard ones, the ones that are so simple that they're stupidly hard. The who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. It all matters. What are you going to do with it, guys? I'm going to tell you, if I could give you any advice, it'd be to document and then act. Write it down. What did you feel today? I don't care if you can remember a thing I said. You can always come back and hit replay, and that's cool. But what were those things that came up for you when I talked about retirement versus inspirement? What is the biggest fear of retirement? What do you want to avoid? What is the worst case scenario because you've seen it already in your family, your friends, on movies, and the newspaper, whatever it is? What is that thing you don't want to have in your future? Because paying the bills, picking up your groceries, doing the laundry, and just kind of living the same old day, in and out, breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's, same time I would go crazy. I would. There's some rest I want, right? I want to have the luxury of choosing how I spend my mornings. But I also want some accountability to not give up and just fade away and disappear, because there's a reason there's the air in my lungs. I believe that if God is giving me life, then I believe there's a purpose, there's something left to do. And so for me, that's my motivation, guys. What about you? What keeps you going? Do you even know? I help with that. If you need some clarity, if you're really upset about what you're looking at in the future, if you're not sure what your dream life even consists of, because it's just been a nightmare to this point, you can't even figure it out, you're just so busy reacting, you've never been planning, I can help. Go to documentthenAct.com, fill out the form. I can message you there. You can go to my LinkedIn, message me there. But mostly, guys, check in with yourself. Sit down, ask the questions. Where do you feel most alive when you are contributing? What fills your cup the most when you give? What are those things that you would do for free if you never made a dime right now, today? If I couldn't pay you to be here, if I couldn't pay you for your gift, if I couldn't pay you to do it, what would you still volunteer to do for me if I had a room for you to speak to or to play in, or an action to take with them? Maybe you just like to walk every morning. It could be as simple as you starting a walking group for people over a certain age. Maybe you're inspiring others to stay active that way. Guys, simple ideas can take you the farthest. It doesn't have to be hard. But I don't want you to be alone. I don't want you to plan just to pay the bills. I don't want you to plan to fold it all up and go away now. We don't need you anymore, old timer. We got this. AI is taking over. You're not needed. It's not true. People didn't know how to do math. We were at the fast food place. Power went out. We're trying to serve food. We have gas. We have all of the things to cook, but we don't have power to run the register. It's just down. And they couldn't figure out sales tax because nobody understood it. At some point, there's going to be a human who needs to know how to do it without AI, because they've never done it without AI. There's going to be that skill set you have that they have automated. And at some point, that automation is going to snap. It's going to break. It's going to go down. The power is going to go off, and they're going to need you. Don't be so far hidden they can't find you. Be willing to tell people when you see them getting ready to run into that wall that you know exists because you've learned the hard way yourself. How can you help them bypass it? Even if you're just preventing somebody else's nightmare from happening the next day. Those small little things matter, guys. Those small little pieces of hope, of sharing and caring and helping each other. And not forgetting that your fellow person sees you as much as you see you. Maybe even more, right? They see you more. What are they seeing? What are you bringing out of them? Is it good? Are you creating a ripple you'd be proud of? When people talk about you at your graveside, your memorial, your service, when they talk about you after you're gone, what will they say? Will you be proud of that ripple? Because I promise you, if any of those Renaissance artists come back and end up in my living room, they are going to feel more loved than I think they ever did in their lifetime. They are going to be celebrated beyond any expectation because they have had such a ripple in my life. Such a ripple. I want you to think about what you're leaving for others, guys. How, where, why, when. Get it done. Figure it out. Figure out when you're able to control your schedule, when you're finally able to have the life you want to live, what are you going to do with it? I am out of here, guys. I hope you remember. Do the thing. Document, then act. Get it done. Write it down. Even the question, what does retirement look like? Are you planning for Inspirement? Are you going to just retire and fade away? It's up to you. I want you guys to go have a fantastic day. I got to go run this motorcycle shop. I do. It's Saturday. The sun's out, fun's out. We're going to do it. But I hope you dance the day away to this song. And I'll see you again next week. Join us tomorrow for Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. I'm Felipe and my show. See you then.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light.